Hi guys, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. What you see in the vise is a fly I call Owl's Diawl Bach. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hackle H230 barbless hook. This one's at size 12. It's on a medium wire and finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Simplify. It's the nano silk at 12/0, and as you can see, it's red. As always with the nano silks, what we want to do is get a spot of super glue onto the shank of the hook, just a small spot, and then we're going to use our silk to spread that up and down the shank. Then I can catch in behind the eye and get a bed of tying silk onto the shank. Once I've got past the hook point, I'm going to come in with my snips and take that away. The next thing then, what I'm going to be using for the tailing fibres is this old cock cape, and I've selected a feather from it now. What I do when I've picked a feather from the cock cape is just get rid of all this junk at the bottom, and then take the feather, and I want to pinch about a thumbnail's worth of fibres for this tail, and then I'll put the feather to the side to be used for the throat hackle later. So I'll dress that up to the hook. I want about the length of the body, and I'm going to come in and lock that into place. I'll just have a quick look, make sure it's the length I want, and then I can lift up and get rid of some of this junk at the front. Excuse my fingers there. And then I'll just tidy this up. Now it's quite a slim profiled fly this, and that's where the 12/0 nano silk really helps out. So we've got our tailing fibres in. The next thing we want to do is add in our first rib, and what that's going to be is some Polish quill. This is stripped quill, and what it is peacock herring that's been stripped by hand, and I've found that the Polish quills, they really make some lovely distinctive heralds. It's quite hard to get that sort of light and dark. So at the end there's some waste here that I'm just going to remove, and then I can catch. I'm just looking for the best side to tie in. So whatever side you tie down onto the shank is what you're going to end up bringing up the fly. So I've picked what I think is the best side. The next thing then, we're going to add some wire to protect that herald, and that's 0.1mm wire, and as you can see, it's gold. And I've got a little piece here that I've been working with, and I'm going to catch that in the entire length of the body. Just helps with keeping the fly nice and even. And then I'll come down to about the halfway point. Now the underbody is some mirror tinsel. It's at 0.8mm from Simplify. As you can see, it's a red tinsel, nice and bright, and I want to catch that in as I go back down to the bottom of the fly. Now when you're doing multiple layers on a fly, the layer that's going to come down first gets tied in last, if that makes sense. Now Owl's Diawl Bach, it's named for Alan Ward. He used to be a captain of the Soldier Palmers team, and he brought it to the team, and it became a real staple as part of the nymph armoury for the team. And I don't think it was Al's. I think he probably stole it from a Bristol water angler, but I still call it Owl's Diawl Bach. So I've got that in place. I brought my thread back to the eye of the hook. I'm going to get several wraps in, and then I'm going to use the rotary function on my vise. Try not to clip the hook point like I just did, because sometimes it can tear it, and then you're left with about 3mm of body material, and you've got to go back and do it again. So using the rotary function, I can make sure that I'm getting total coverage of that hook shank, and I'm going to come all the way up to meet my thread. Now, once I've done that, I can grab my tying silk and just make sure that's secured. Then I can come in, remove my waste, put that to the side for the next one. Then I can grab my hackle pliers, and what I'm going to do is bring up my rib. Now I'm going to purposely take it away from myself. I'm just being very gentle. Hackle is when it's been stripped like this, regardless of the process, does need a lot of TLC when you're working with it. So as I came up with my red rib there, you'll notice I clipped the point of the hook and I got away with it. You wouldn't get away with clipping the hook point with Hackle. It'll just snap off on you. And this is good quality Hackle. You know, sometimes you can pick up stuff that you look at it the wrong way and it falls to bits. So just be careful as you're working with your Hackle. I'm going to come up, it meets my thread again, and then I can tuck that in. Now, as for fishing this fly, a team of nymphs, it works really well on the washing line, often fished on the top dropper. As I went away from myself with the Hackle, this time with a wire rib, I'm going to come towards myself, and what I'm doing is just making sure I get nice turns over that Hackle. If you don't get it protected, as soon as you start catching fish, the Hackle will part company from the body. A few turns to hold it in place, a few turns in front of the wire, keeping tension on the wire. I can now helicopter away my wire. Next then we're going to tie in the throat hackle. I'm going to come back to my feather that we used earlier for the tailing, and I'm just going to take again roughly a thumbnail's worth of fibres, pull it away from the stem, bunch it into your thumb and forefinger. Any erroneous fibres you can get rid of, and then you can invert your vise, dress it up. You want it to be about the length of the body. So I've caught that in. I'm going to get a couple of turns just in front, like so, and then I'll pull my waist just past the eye, and I'll get a couple of turns in behind the eye. Now what I can do before I go on to tidy up, excuse my fingers, you can remove that waist. Then another couple of turns just to try and catch them cut ends, and we can bring our fly back to the level position. Okay, this is the tricky bit. Well, it certainly is tricky for me. You'll probably find it no problem at all. So we're going to tie in the jungle cock cheeks. I've got a good cape here, and what do I mean by a good cape? It's all the eyes are pretty whole. I haven't got many with split eyes, and as you can see I use quite a lot of feathers from this range of the cape. So I've got an eye here, and what I want to do with this is strip away all the guard hairs, and the best way to do that is grab your hackle pliers, clip in at the tip of the feather, and then simply with your thumb and forefinger of your left hand pull all them fibres away from the eye, and then you can simply strip away and you're left with a nice eye. So what I want to do, because there's no natural split, is I'm going to take my scissors and just put a little slit into the eye. Then I can come up, dress it up to the head, split split the rest of the feather with my finger. I'll get a couple of wraps just to make sure I've got it in the right place. It's good at my side and it's nearly good at your side, just needed a little adjustment there. Then before I start building the head, I'll pull back the waist piece. Try and get as much of this gone with your scissors as you can. Then come in, tidy up the cut ends and start to build your head. Now the truth of the matter is I don't really fish this fly or tie it so much anymore, and the reason for that is, as you can see, it's a bit of a faff. It's definitely well worth it, but I've started to use and fish more with a pattern that a good pal of mine, Peter Harrop, came up with some years ago. They call it the Red Devil, and it's a cracking wee fly. It's quick to tie. I think it's on the channel already, but if you wanted to look that up, it's certainly worth a lookie. It's much easier than this, and it's just as effective. So to finish off the fly, what I want to do is get my UV resin here, and I'm going to coat the head. Now I'm not going to be overly worried about getting resin in the eye, because I'm going to remove that with a feather. I want good coverage over the head, and then I can come in with a little feather that I've had on my vise for a while now. I might need to get a new one. Yeah, they're not cheap, these feathers. And for some reason I'm unable to thread it through the eye. Old age. And then I can bring my gadget in, switch it on, and then that'll sit and cure. So a great wee fly for the top dropper. Works really well on the large still waters, and I dare say on the small still waters it'll do a job for you. Best fish in a team in my opinion. It's one of these flies I like to, if I'm washing line, I like to have it one up for the booby. Takes lots of fish. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.